The Grand Hanwha Hotel glittered beneath 10,000 crystal lights. Seoul's elite gathered inside the gilded ballroom. Champagne flowed. Diamonds sparkled. Laughter echoed against marble walls. Dr. Kang Min-seo stood near the entrance, adjusting his platinum cufflinks. His tailored black suit fit like armor. The phoenix tattoo on his inner wrist caught the chandelier light, Korean flames intertwined with African Adinkra symbols. Then he saw her. Amara. Walking through the lobby. 3 little girls surrounded her, clearly from the children's charity being honored tonight. One child turned toward him. His heart stopped beating. The girl had his exact eyes. His calm expression. His quiet way of observing everything before speaking. Nobody noticed his silent panic. Please like, share, and subscribe. Min-seo's champagne glass trembled in his hand. The phoenix tattoo on his wrist seemed to pulse. The Adinkra symbols, the African patterns his lost love had designed, burned against his skin like a fresh wound. Amara. She was here. After 7 years of silence. 7 years of searching. 7 years of wondering if she had ever loved him at all. She looked different now. Softer. More tired. But still impossibly beautiful. Her natural hair was twisted into elegant braids. Her simple navy dress moved like water as she walked. She held the hands of 2 little girls while the third girl watched him. Min-seo couldn't breathe. The child's eyes were his own. Not similar. Identical. The same sharp intelligence. The same patient stillness. The same way of tilting her head slightly to the right when studying something interesting. Dr. Kang? His colleague's voice came from somewhere distant. Dr. Kang, the director is asking for you. Min-seo couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Couldn't look away from the little girl who wore his face like a mirror. 3 weeks earlier. Lagos, Nigeria. Rain hammered against the tin roof of the Children's Learning Center. Amara sat at her small desk, staring at the letter in her hands. The paper was expensive. The letterhead was prestigious. The words were formal. But the meaning was devastating. Your daughter has been selected as one of 5 children worldwide to participate in the Seoul International Children's Art Exchange. The program will provide full travel, accommodation, and educational experiences for selected children and their guardians. Please confirm your acceptance. Seoul. The city where she had fallen in love. The city where she had lost everything. The city where he still lived. Mama? Amara looked up. Her daughter Sumin stood in the doorway, clutching a watercolor painting. The painting showed a hospital. A doctor with kind eyes. A little girl holding his hand. Sumin had been painting variations of this image for 3 years. A father she had never met. A man she somehow sensed was missing from her life. Mama, my painting won a prize, Sumin said quietly. They want me to go to Korea. Amara's hands trembled. I know, baby. Can we go? The question was simple. The answer was impossible. Amara looked at her daughter's hopeful face. Those eyes, his eyes, watching her with patient expectation. How could she say no? How could she say yes? 2 days later. Amara stood outside her mother's small house in Victoria Island. The evening breeze carried the smell of jollof rice and plantains. Inside, her mother hummed an old Igbo lullaby while preparing dinner. Mama, I need to talk to you. Chief Mrs. Adana Okafor set down her wooden spoon. At 63, she still commanded any room she entered. Her gray-streaked hair was wrapped in a traditional geli. Her eyes held decades of wisdom and sorrow. You received the letter, Adana said. It wasn't a question. How did you know? A mother always knows when her child's heart is breaking. Amara sank into a chair. Sumin wants to go. She's so excited. She's already packing her colored pencils. And you? I can't go back there, Mama. I can't face him again. Adana moved closer. Her weathered hands cupped her daughter's face. 7 years ago, you made a choice. You chose to protect him. You chose to sacrifice your happiness so he could build his career. You chose to raise your daughter alone rather than destroy the man you loved. Tears slipped down Amara's cheeks. But Mama, what if I made the wrong choice? What if he deserved to know? The past cannot be changed. Only the future can be chosen. Amara closed her eyes. If I go, if he sees her, everything will unravel. Perhaps, Adana said softly. Or perhaps it's time for the truth to finally breathe. 1 week later. Incheon International Airport hummed with controlled chaos. Amara held Sumin's hand tightly as they walked through the arrivals hall. The other children from the art exchange program, 2 Korean girls from the local charity organization, walked beside them. Everything looked different. Everything felt the same. The Korean language surrounded her like a forgotten melody. The clean lines of the architecture. The efficiency of every system. The quiet politeness of strangers. She had loved this country once. She had loved a man from this country with every fiber of her being. Mama, look. Sumin pointed at a massive digital billboard. The screen showed a prestigious hospital. A confident surgeon in a white coat. The words scrolled in Korean and English. Hanwha Medical Center where healing begins. Director of Cardiothoracic Surgery, Dr. Kang Hyuk. Amara's heart stopped. His face filled the screen. Older now. More distinguished. The sharp jawline she had traced with her fingers 1,000 times. The calm, piercing eyes that had once looked at her like she was the only woman in the entire world. Mama, that doctor looks sad, Sumin observed. Amara couldn't respond. She simply pulled her daughter away from the billboard and walked faster toward the exit. 3 days later. The Grand Hanwha Hotel represented everything Amara had tried to escape. Wealth. Power. The glittering elite of Korean society. She stood in the lobby, adjusting the simple navy dress she had borrowed from a friend. The 3 children from the art exchange program clustered around her, Sumin and the 2 Korean charity girls, Ji-young and Hana. Miss Amara, when will we show our paintings? Ji-young asked. Soon, sweetheart. The exhibition is upstairs. I want to find my painting first, Sumin declared. I want to make sure it looks perfect. Amara smiled despite her anxiety. Her daughter's confidence was both beautiful and terrifying. That confidence came directly from her father. Let's go inside together, Amara said. Hold hands, everyone. They began walking toward the ballroom entrance. Amara kept her head down. Her heart raced. Every Korean face seemed to hold judgment. Every whispered conversation seemed directed at her. Then she felt it. The weight of someone's gaze. Heavy. Intense. Unmistakable. She looked up. Across the lobby, a man in a perfectly tailored black suit stood frozen near the champagne station. His hand gripped a crystal glass so tightly it seemed about to shatter. Mensio. Their eyes met. 7 years collapsed into a single breath. He looked the same. Different. Older. Harder. More guarded. But his eyes still held the same devastating intensity she remembered from their first meeting in that cramped university library. Amara couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Mama? Sumin tugged her hand. Mama, are you okay? The voice broke the spell. Amara tore her gaze away. She gripped her daughter's hand and walked quickly toward the ballroom. Behind her, she felt his stare burning into her back. She didn't look back. She couldn't. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow patterns across white marble floors. A full orchestra played traditional Korean melodies blended with subtle African rhythms, a tribute to the international nature of the charity event. Amara guided the children toward the art exhibition area. Their paintings hung on elegant display boards, surrounded by soft lighting and appreciative murmurs from wealthy patrons. "There's mine." Sumin pointed excitedly. Her painting occupied a place of honor in the center of the display. A hospital. A doctor with kind eyes. A little girl holding his hand. Amara's chest tightened. "It's beautiful, baby." "The doctor looks lonely," Sumin said thoughtfully. "I wanted to give him a family so he wouldn't be sad anymore." Before Amara could respond, a voice cut through the crowd. "Amara." Her name. In his voice. She turned slowly. Minseo stood 3 feet away. His jaw was clenched. His hands hung at his sides, but his fingers trembled almost imperceptibly. The phoenix tattoo on his wrist was partially visible beneath his sleeve, the intertwined African patterns she had designed during their 3rd month together. He had kept it. All these years. He had kept her design on his body. "Dr. Kang." Her voice came out steadier than she expected. "You left." 3 words. Simple. Devastating. "I had to." No explanation. No goodbye. "You simply vanished." "It's complicated. I searched for you." His voice remained low, controlled, but the intensity burned like ice. "For 3 years, I searched. I hired investigators. I contacted immigration offices. I even flew to Lagos twice looking for you." Amara's heart cracked. "I didn't know." "How could you? You made it impossible for me to find you." Silence stretched between them. The orchestra played on. Champagne glasses clinked. Wealthy donors discussed art and children and charitable giving. But in this small space between 2 former lovers, the world had stopped. "Mama?" Sumin's small voice shattered the tension. Minseo's gaze dropped to the child. His expression shifted. Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, confusion, disbelief. The girl looked up at him with quiet curiosity. His exact eyes. His exact calm expression. His exact way of tilting her head slightly to the right. "Mama, who is this man?" Sumin asked. Amara's world collapsed. "He's an old friend, baby." Minseo's jaw tightened. His piercing gaze moved between Amara and the child. The calculations were visible in his brilliant surgeon's mind: dates, possibilities, undeniable mathematics. "How old is she?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Dr. Kang." "How old?" 5 years and 7 months. The timing was unmistakable. Minseo's face went completely pale. "Is she?" He couldn't finish the question. He didn't need to. The answer stood before him in a simple pink dress, holding a watercolor painting of a lonely doctor who needed a family. Later that evening. The hotel garden was empty. Amara sat on a stone bench beneath a willow tree. The evening air was cool. Distant music drifted from the ballroom. Seoul's skyline glittered like scattered diamonds. She had left Sumin with the charity coordinators, claiming she needed fresh air. In truth, she needed to escape. To breathe. To figure out what came next. Footsteps approached on the gravel path. She didn't need to look up. She knew his walk. His presence. The way his silence filled any space he entered. Minseo sat on the opposite end of the bench. Not too close. Not too far. The careful distance of 2 people who had once known each other completely and now knew nothing at all. "Tell me everything," he said quietly. "Where would I even start?" "Start with why you left without telling me you were pregnant." The words hung in the night air. Amara closed her eyes. "I didn't know I was pregnant when I left. But you discovered it later. And you still didn't contact me. By then, it was too late." "Too late for what?" She turned to face him. The moonlight caught the tears glistening in her eyes. "Do you remember Dr. Huang? Your mentor at the teaching hospital?" Minseo's expression hardened. What does he have to do with this? Everything. 7 years earlier. Seoul National University Medical Library. Autumn, 7 years ago. Amara was 20 years old, drowning in medical research textbooks. Her international scholarship covered tuition and housing, but nothing else. She worked 3 part-time jobs to afford food and supplies. She slept 4 hours most nights. She was exhausted, homesick, and questioning every decision that had brought her to this foreign country. But she was also determined. Her mother had sacrificed everything to give her this opportunity. Her entire village had contributed to her travel expenses. She carried their hopes on her shoulders. Failure was not an option. "You're in my spot." The voice was quiet. Calm. Slightly irritated. Amara looked up from her textbooks. A Korean man in his early 30s stood beside her table. He wore a white coat with hospital identification. His face was handsome in a severe way, sharp jawline, piercing eyes, an expression that suggested he rarely wasted time on unnecessary conversation. "Your spot?" Amara replied. "I've studied at this exact table every Tuesday and Thursday for 5 years. I don't see your name on it." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, perhaps. Or amusement. "You're the Nigerian scholarship student. First-year nursing program." "How do you know that?" "You're the only African student in the medical faculty. People talk." "What do they say?" "That you work harder than anyone they've ever seen." He paused. "That you're exceptionally talented but too stubborn to accept help." Amara raised an eyebrow. "And you think I need your help?" "I think you've been studying that cardiac anatomy diagram upside down for the past 20 minutes. She looked down. He was right. "Sit down," she said quietly. "It's my table." "Fine. Stay standing while you explain cardiac circulation to me." He sat down. That was how it began. 2 months later. The rooftop of the teaching hospital had the best view of Seoul's skyline. Amara stood at the railing, watching the city lights flicker like earthbound stars. Behind her, Min Seo approached with 2 cups of coffee. "You shouldn't be up here," he said. "Students aren't allowed on the surgical staff rooftop. Neither are young surgeons who spend more time teaching than operating. I make exceptions for talented students." She accepted the coffee. Their fingers brushed. Neither pulled away. "Why do you help me?" Amara asked. "Because you never ask for help." "That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense." He stood beside her at the railing. Close enough to feel his warmth. "Everyone else in this hospital is fighting for attention, for recognition, for the next promotion. You simply work. Quietly. Persistently. Without expecting anything in return. That's how I was raised. My mother taught me that integrity speaks louder than ambition." "Your mother sounds wise." "She is. She raised 5 children alone after my father died. She never complained. She just kept working, kept praying, kept believing things would get better." Min Seo was quiet for a long moment. "My mother was similar," he finally said. "She worked in a fish market to pay for my medical school fees. She never saw me graduate. She passed away 3 months before my white coat ceremony." Amara's heart ached. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." "Her sacrifice gave me purpose." He looked at her. "I think about legacy constantly. What mark will I leave on this world? What will matter after I'm gone? That's a heavy burden to carry alone." "Perhaps." His gaze held hers. "Perhaps that's why I feel lighter when I'm with you." The confession hung between them like a sacred promise. Neither spoke. The city glittered below. And somewhere in that moment, without either fully understanding, they began falling in love. 3 months later. The small tattoo parlor in Hongdae was crowded with students. But Min Seo had reserved the private back room. Amara watched nervously as the artist prepared the ink. The design they had created together lay on the table, a Korean phoenix, rising from flames, its wings intertwined with African Adinkra symbols representing healing, resilience, and eternal devotion. "You don't have to do this," Amara said. "I know. People will talk." A surgeon with a visible tattoo. "Let them talk." He captured her hands. "Amara, I've never felt this way about anyone. I've spent my entire life following rules, meeting expectations, being everything everyone wanted me to be. But when I'm with you, I feel like myself. For the first time in 32 years, I feel like myself." Tears burned her eyes. "Min-seo. This tattoo is my promise." He kissed her forehead gently. "Your heritage is part of my body now. Your symbols are written on my skin. No matter what happens, you will always be with me." The artist began his work. The needle hummed. And somewhere in that small, crowded parlor, two souls became irrevocably intertwined. Present day. The hotel garden remained quiet. Amara continued her story, her voice barely above a whisper. "Dr. Huang discovered our relationship. He called me into his office 3 days before I found out I was pregnant." Min-seo's jaw tightened. "He never told me." "Of course he didn't. He told me something else entirely." "What?" Amara's hands trembled. "He told me you had been selected for the most prestigious surgical fellowship in Asia. The position at the National Heart Institute that only one surgeon receives every decade." Min-seo nodded slowly. "I remember that selection process. He said the final decision was between you and Dr. Park. He said the selection committee was traditional, conservative. He said if they discovered you were in a relationship with a Nigerian nursing student, your candidacy would be destroyed. That's not." He showed me documents. Emails from committee members expressing concern about foreign influences and inappropriate attachments. He told me the only way to protect your career was to disappear quietly. Min-seo's face darkened. "Those documents were fabricated. I know that now. But at 20 years old, alone in a foreign country, terrified of ruining the man I loved, I believed every word." Silence fell between them. Min-seo's hands clenched into fists. The phoenix tattoo on his wrist seemed to burn in the moonlight. "He manipulated you." "Yes." "He stole years from us." "Yes." "He kept me from my daughter." Amara's tears finally fell. "I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I left quietly, you would forget me eventually. You would build the brilliant career you deserved. You would find someone suitable, someone who wouldn't hold you back. I never forgot you." His voice cracked. "I never stopped loving you. Min-seo. I won that fellowship. I became director of the most prestigious cardiothoracic department in Korea. I achieved everything I ever wanted professionally." He turned to face her fully. "And every single day felt empty because you weren't beside me." Amara sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He reached out slowly. His fingers brushed her cheek, wiping away tears. "You have nothing to apologize for. You are a victim of a man who valued his own ambition over human lives. What do we do now?" "Now?" Min-seo's expression hardened with quiet determination. "Now we expose the truth. And I meet my daughter properly." The following morning, the hotel restaurant served traditional Korean breakfast. Amara sat at a corner table with Sumin. The little girl was focused entirely on her art pad, sketching the decorative fish swimming in the restaurant's indoor pond. "Mama, the orange fish looks lonely." "Why do you say that?" "Because he's swimming in circles while all the other fish have friends. Maybe he's looking for his family." Amara's heart squeezed. The restaurant door opened. Min-seo entered. He had traded his formal suit for casual clothing, a simple white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, dark trousers, comfortable shoes. The phoenix tattoo was fully visible on his inner wrist. He walked toward their table with measured steps. Amara held her breath. "Mama, It's the man from last night. Sumin set down her pencil. The sad doctor. Min-seo reached their table. He stood very still, studying the child who studied him back with identical calm intensity. May I sit down? He asked. Sumin nodded. You may. He sat across from them. His hands rested flat on the table, though Amara noticed the slight tremor in his fingers. What's your name? He asked the little girl. Okafor Sumin. But everyone calls me Sumin. That's a beautiful name. It means excellence of the people in Korean. I know. Mama chose it because she wanted me to represent the best of two worlds. Min-seo's eyes flickered toward Amara. Something profound passed between them. What are you drawing? He asked Sumin. The lonely fish. Do you see him? The orange one? Min-seo looked at the pond, then at the sketch pad. His expression softened. You're very talented. That fish looks exactly like him. Thank you. Sumin tilted her head, the exact same way Min-seo did when he was considering something important. Are you really a doctor? Yes. Do you save people's hearts? I try to. Have you ever saved a heart that was broken from sadness? Not the physical kind, but the feeling kind? Min-seo's composure cracked. Just slightly. Just enough for Amara to see the depth of emotion beneath his controlled surface. Not yet, he said quietly. But I'm learning how. Sumin smiled. It was his exact smile, the rare, genuine one he reserved for moments that truly mattered. Maybe you should start with your own heart, she said. You look like someone who's been carrying something heavy for a long time. Amara's tears threatened to return. This child. Their child. Already seeing things that adults spent lifetimes trying to understand. Dr. Hwang Junho stood in his corner office at Hanwha Medical Center. At 68 years old, he remained formidable. Silver hair swept back from a distinguished face. Sharp eyes that had witnessed 40 years of hospital politics. Hands that had once been legendary for surgical precision but now mostly signed administrative documents. His phone buzzed. He read the message. The Nigerian woman has returned. She was seen with Kang Min-seo at the charity gala. They are together now at the hotel restaurant. The child is with them. His blood ran cold. This was impossible. He had made certain the woman disappeared 7 years ago. He had fabricated evidence, forged documents, destroyed any possibility of contact between her and his protégé. All to protect his legacy. Min-seo was his creation. His surgical masterpiece. The culmination of decades of teaching, training, and careful cultivation. That ungrateful boy would not have his career without Hwang's mentorship. And he would not throw it all away for some foreign woman and an illegitimate child. Dr. Hwang picked up his phone and dialed. It's me, he said. We have a problem. Activate the contingency plan. Later that afternoon. Hanwha Medical Center gleamed like a temple of modern medicine. Min-seo guided Amara and Sumin through the pediatric wing. The other children from the art exchange program had remained at the hotel, but he had specifically invited Sumin to see the place where he worked. This is the children's play area, he explained. Young patients can come here when they're feeling well enough to play with toys and meet other children. Sumin pressed her nose against the glass. It looks happy. We try to make it feel less like a hospital for them. Do you treat children too? Or only adult hearts? I specialize in adult cardiothoracic surgery, but sometimes children need the same procedures. Their hearts are smaller and more delicate, but the principles are similar. Hearts are fascinating, Sumin said seriously. They work so hard every second of every day, and we never even thank them. Min-seo smiled genuinely. You're absolutely right. Perhaps we should all thank our hearts more often. Amara watched their interaction from a slight distance. The connection between them was unmistakable. The similar gestures. The matching expressions. The identical way they processed information, quietly, thoroughly, with careful consideration before speaking. Biology couldn't be hidden. Neither could love. Dr. Kang. A smooth voice interrupted the moment. Dr. Lee Jinwoo approached from the opposite corridor. At 36, he was handsome in a polished, magazine cover way, perfect hair, perfect teeth, perfect smile. He served as the deputy director of the pediatric department and had spent years positioning himself as Min Seo's natural successor. Jinwoo, Min Seo said neutrally. I didn't expect you today. Emergency consult. Jinwoo's eyes swept over Amara appreciatively. Too appreciatively. And who is this? Miss Okafor. She's coordinating the children's art exchange program. The African program. Yes, I've heard about it. Very prestigious. Jinwoo extended his hand toward Amara with a charming smile. Dr. Lee Jinwoo. Welcome to Hanwha. Amara shook his hand briefly. Thank you. Perhaps I could give you a private tour of the pediatric facilities? Since that's more my specialty than Dr. Kang's cardiothoracic realm. That won't be necessary, Min Seo said. His voice remained calm, but his jaw had tightened. Jinwoo raised an eyebrow. I didn't realize you were personally hosting the art coordinators, Sun Bae. Usually, that falls to administrative staff. Miss Okafor is an old friend. I see. Jinwoo's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Well, any friend of yours is welcome here. Please let me know if I can assist in any way. He walked away with fluid confidence. Amara released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. He seems interested in more than just hospital tours, she observed. Jinwoo is interested in everything that might advance his position, Min Seo replied. Including discovering any weakness he can exploit. Am I a weakness? Min Seo looked at her directly. The intensity in his gaze made her chest tighten. You are many things, Amara. But never a weakness. That evening, Dr. Lee Jinwoo sat in his personal office, scrolling through photographs on his computer. The images were from the charity gala the previous night. Official photographer shots, social media posts, guest snapshots. He zoomed in on one particular image. Dr. Kang Min Seo standing near the art exhibition. His usual composed expression had cracked. He was staring at a Nigerian woman and a little girl with an expression that could only be described as devastating recognition. Jinwoo zoomed in further on the child. His eyes widened. The resemblance was impossible to miss. That girl was Kang Min Seo's daughter. He was certain of it. This information was invaluable. Korea's most prestigious cardiothoracic surgeon had a secret love child with a foreign woman. A scandal of this magnitude could destroy decades of reputation. It could shift the hospital's power dynamics entirely. Jinwoo reached for his phone. He needed to confirm his suspicions before acting. And he knew exactly who to contact. Dr. Huang? It's Jinwoo. I believe I've discovered something you'll want to know about. The next morning, Amara walked through Bukshan Hanok village alone. She had left Sumin with the other children at the hotel's supervised activity program. She needed time to think. Time to process everything that had happened. The traditional Korean houses around her were beautiful, ancient architecture preserved amidst modern Seoul. She had walked these same streets 7 years ago, dreaming of a future that seemed impossible. Miss Okafor. She turned. A middle-aged Korean woman in expensive clothing approached. Her face was elegant but cold. Do I know you? Amara asked. My name is Chairman Huang's assistant. He would like a word with you. Amara's blood chilled. I have nothing to say to Dr. Huang. I'm afraid that's not an option. The woman stepped closer. Dr. Huang has significant influence over immigration processes in this country. Your daughter's visa, for example. It would be unfortunate if complications arose. Are you threatening my daughter? I'm simply explaining the situation. Dr. Huang requests a brief meeting at his private residence this afternoon. 3 o'clock. He believes you have mutual interests to discuss. The woman handed Amara a business card with an address. Consider this a friendly invitation, she said. Refusing would be unwise. She walked away. Amara stood frozen among the ancient houses, her heart pounding with fear and rage. That afternoon, Dr. Huang's private residence occupied a hillside overlooking the Han River. The house was traditional in design but modern in luxury, gleaming wood, expensive art, floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased Seoul's skyline. Amara entered the living room alone. Dr. Huang stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back. He didn't turn around when she entered. 7 years, he said quietly. I was so certain you would never return. You made sure of that. I made sure of many things. He finally turned to face her. His expression was calm, almost paternal. Protecting Minseo's future required difficult decisions. You call destroying my life a difficult decision? I call it strategic prioritization. Minseo is the greatest surgical talent I've ever trained. His potential to advance Korean medicine is immeasurable. Allowing him to throw it all away for a teenage romance would have been criminal negligence. I was 20 years old. I loved him. I was carrying his child. And that's precisely why you had to leave. Huang moved closer. Young people make foolish decisions based on emotions. My job was to ensure those decisions didn't become permanent mistakes. Sumin is not a mistake. No, she's evidence. Evidence that could destroy everything Minseo has built. Huang's eyes hardened. I'm going to make this very simple for you, Miss Okafor. You will take your daughter and return to Nigeria immediately. You will never contact Minseo again. In exchange, I will provide substantial financial support for the child's education and future. You think you can buy my silence? I'm offering you a solution. The alternative is much less pleasant. Which is? Your daughter's visa will be revoked for undisclosed reasons. You will be permanently banned from Korean soil. And certain media outlets will receive anonymously leaked stories about the Nigerian woman who tried to entrap one of Korea's most respected surgeons. Amara's hands shook with rage. You're a monster. I'm a pragmatist. The world isn't fair, Miss Okafor. It's shaped by those with power and destroyed by those without it. The door behind them opened. Minseo stepped into the room. His expression was terrifyingly calm. You seem to have forgotten, teacher. His voice was soft as ice. I have considerable power of my own now. Huang paled. Minseo. How did you? Your assistant called my office to confirm the address. Apparently, she still believes I trust you. Minseo moved to stand beside Amara. His hand brushed against her lower back, a protective gesture, invisible to others but unmistakable to her. I heard everything. This is a misunderstanding. I was simply. You were threatening the mother of my child. You were attempting to extort her silence. You were manipulating circumstances to serve your own interests, exactly as you did 7 years ago. Everything I did was for your benefit. You stole my daughter from me. Minseo's composure finally cracked. Raw emotion blazed in his eyes. You stole years of her life that I will never get back. And you dare claim you were protecting me? The room fell silent. Huang's confident expression crumbled. Minseo. I can explain. There's nothing to explain. Minseo's voice was final. You are finished. I have recordings of this conversation. I have evidence of the documents you forged 7 years ago. And I have witnesses prepared to testify about your decades of manipulation. You wouldn't dare. I made you. You trained me. There's a difference. Minseo guided Amara toward the door. Within 72 hours, the hospital board will receive a comprehensive report of your activities. Your medical license will be suspended pending investigation. And your legacy, the legacy you were so desperate to protect, will be remembered for what it truly was. They walked out. Behind them, Dr. Huang's world collapsed into silence. 3 days later, Hanwha Medical Center's private laboratory was quiet. Min Seo sat in a consultation room with Amara. Between them lay an envelope containing the results neither of them truly needed. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Amara asked. "I already know the truth. But documentation protects us legally." He looked at her. "It protects Sumin." She nodded slowly. Min Seo opened the envelope. His eyes scanned the results. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. He exhaled slowly. "She's mine. She was always yours." He set the paper down. His hands trembled. "Amara, I've spent the last 3 days trying to process everything. The anger, the grief, the lost years. But when I look at her, when I watch her think and speak and create, all I feel is overwhelming gratitude." "For what?" "For you. For raising her alone when you had every reason to hate me. For giving her my name despite believing I had abandoned you. For teaching her to be kind and curious and brave." Amara's tears fell. "I never hated you. I could never hate you. And I never stopped loving you." He reached across the table and took her hands. "I know things are complicated. I know we can't simply pick up where we left off. But I want you to know, I will spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of you. Of both of you." "Min Seo. You don't have to answer now. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know the truth of my heart." They sat in silence. But it was a different kind of silence now. Not the silence of separation. The silence of two souls finally finding their way home. Later that evening, Dr. Lee Jinwoo paced his apartment. The news had reached him an hour ago. Dr. Huang was under investigation. The hospital board was meeting in emergency session. Everything Jinwoo had planned was unraveling. He needed leverage. Fast. His phone buzzed. A text from his contact at the DNA laboratory. Test results confirmed. Kang Min Seo is the biological father of the Nigerian child. Documentation has been filed with hospital records as you requested. Jinwoo smiled. This was even better than he'd hoped. Official documentation meant official scandal. Media outlets would pay handsomely for this story. And once the news broke, Kang Min Seo's pristine reputation would shatter into 1,000 pieces. The director position would be open. And Jinwoo would be perfectly positioned to claim it. He began drafting an anonymous message to Korea's biggest entertainment news network. The following morning, the headlines were everywhere. Korea's top surgeon's secret love child. Dr. Kang Min Seo's hidden foreign family exposed. Scandal rocks Hanwha Medical Center. Amara stared at her phone in horror. The hotel lobby was crowded with reporters. Security guards held them back from the elevator banks, but their cameras still flashed, still recorded, still demanded answers. "Miss Okafor. Miss Okafor. Is it true your daughter is Dr. Kang's illegitimate child? How much money did you receive to keep quiet? Are you attempting to claim inheritance rights for your daughter?" Sumin pressed against Amara's leg, frightened by the chaos. "Mama, why are they yelling?" "It's okay, baby. It's okay." It wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. Simultaneously, across the city, the Hanwha Medical Center boardroom was silent. 12 board members sat around a polished conference table. Their expressions ranged from concerned to furious to grimly calculating. Min Seo stood at the head of the table. "Gentlemen," he said calmly, "I understand you have questions." "Questions?" The chairman, a stern man in his 70s, slammed his palm on the table. "You've created the biggest scandal in this hospital's history. Our stock has dropped 8% since this morning. Sponsors are threatening to withdraw. Patients are canceling surgeries. I'm aware of the situation. Are you?" Because it seems you were too busy hiding a secret family to consider the consequences. Min Seo's jaw tightened. My daughter is not a secret I was hiding. She is a child whose existence was deliberately concealed from me by a man this board trusted and protected for 40 years. Dr. Huang's actions are separate from. They are not separate. They are directly connected. The same institutional culture that protected Huang's manipulations is now punishing me for being a victim of those manipulations. Silence fell. The board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Regardless of circumstances, the chairman said finally, your personal life has become a liability. We need to contain this situation. The most efficient solution would be for you to issue a public statement denying the relationship and distancing yourself from the woman and child. Min Seo stared at him. You want me to deny my own daughter? We want you to protect this institution. By lying. By being strategic. Min Seo looked around the room. 12 powerful men. 12 cowards hiding behind institutional reputation. Gentlemen, he said quietly, I built my career on precision and integrity. I have performed over 3,000 surgeries without a single malpractice claim. I have trained an entire generation of surgeons. I have given this hospital 20 years of my life. He began unbuttoning his white coat. But if you believe I will stand before the world and deny my own child, if you believe I will sacrifice my family to protect your share prices, then you never understood who I am. He placed his white coat on the table. Consider this my resignation. Gasps filled the room. Min Seo, wait. But he was already walking toward the door. The phoenix tattoo on his wrist caught the fluorescent light, Korean flames intertwined with African symbols of healing and resilience. Some sacrifices were worth making. Some loves were worth fighting for. That afternoon, Amara was packing. The hotel room felt smaller now, compressed by fear and chaos and the weight of impossible decisions. Sumin sat on the bed, watching her mother with worried eyes. Are we leaving, Mama? Yes, baby. We're going home. But I wanted to show Dr. Kang my new painting. Amara's heart broke. I know, sweetheart. But sometimes we have to leave before we're ready. Did I do something wrong? No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. Amara knelt before her daughter. None of this is your fault. Do you understand? None of it. Sumin nodded slowly. The hotel room door opened. Min Seo stood in the doorway. His expression was intense, desperate, determined. You're not leaving. I have to. Look what my presence has done to your life. Your career, your reputation. I resigned. Amara froze. What? 20 minutes ago. I walked away from everything. He stepped into the room. The board wanted me to deny you. To deny Sumin. I refused. Min Seo, you can't sacrifice your entire life's work for us. It was never just work. He moved closer. It was distraction. Every surgery, every achievement, every accolade, they were all just ways to fill the emptiness you left behind. Tears streamed down Amara's face. I can't be responsible for destroying everything you've built. You built me. He cupped her face in his hands. The man I became, the surgeon who actually cares about patients, who sees them as people rather than procedures, that's because of you. Because of what you taught me about compassion and sacrifice and putting others first. Min Seo. I'm not letting you leave again. Not like this. Not without a fight. Sumin stood up on the bed. Does this mean we're staying? Both adults looked at her. I want to stay, she said simply. I like it here. And Dr. Kang looks less sad now. Min Seo's expression softened. He released Amara and walked toward the child who wore his exact features. Sumin, he said quietly, do you know who I am? She tilted her head, his exact gesture. You're my father. The room went silent. You knew? I always knew I had a father somewhere. I painted him hundreds of times. He always looked just like you. She smiled, his exact smile. I've been waiting for you. Min-seo's composure shattered completely. For the first time in his adult life, he wept openly. Soo-min wrapped her small arms around his neck. It's okay, she whispered. I'm here now. We found each other. Amara watched them embrace, her daughter and the man she had never stopped loving. And in that moment, despite everything, she felt hope. 3 hours later, airport security escorted Amara and Soo-min toward the international departure gate. The decision had been made. Staying was too dangerous. The media attention was overwhelming. Anonymous threats had arrived at the hotel. Someone powerful wanted them gone, and was willing to use any means necessary. Min-seo had argued against leaving, but Amara had made her choice. I need to protect our daughter, she had said. I can protect her better in Nigeria than here, surrounded by enemies I don't understand. I'll fix this. Give me time. How much time, Min-seo? Weeks? Months? Meanwhile, Soo-min sees her face on every news screen, hears strangers calling her a scandal. He had no answer. So she left. Now, standing at the gate, Soo-min looked back at the airport crowds one last time. Will we see him again, Mama? I hope so, baby. Promise? Amara couldn't promise. Promises had been broken too many times. Instead, she kissed her daughter's forehead and guided her toward the jet bridge. Behind them, somewhere in the chaos of Incheon Airport, Min-seo pushed through security checkpoints, desperately searching for the woman and child who were slipping away from him for the second time in his life. He reached the departure hall. Empty. The flight to Lagos had already boarded. He stood at the window, watching the plane taxi toward the runway. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have listened to the board. Now the real consequences begin. We will destroy everything you love. Starting with her. The plane lifted off. Min-seo's world fractured into 1,000 pieces. And somewhere in the distance, a storm that had been building for 7 years finally prepared to make landfall.